everybody. I'm Lisa Brennan.
And I'm Justin Trice.
Welcome to Crime of the Arts, a true crime podcast that peeks behind the curtain to shine a light on the dark and untold truths of the creative arts.
From film set mysteries to celebrity murders and art heist, these two theater nerds will usher you into the unknown.
In my obsessed festness, I was asking people, like, what are some things that you think you would want to hear about?
Right.
And they all, I mean, Justin, if I tell you, if I asked 20 people that question, at least half of them were like art heists. And I was like, well, really?
That's good, because I happen to have an art heist story today, so they'll be satisfied.
Shut up. No, you don't.
I swear to God, I do, Lisa.
What is it? Because so do I.
Oh, shit. Oh, no.
What story?
I really hope we don't have the same one.
Well, we can just tell it together if we do.
That's funny. Well, mine was about, because I saw the Netflix documentary, This is a Robbery, the World's Greatest Art Heist. So mine is about the infamous St. Patrick's Day art heist, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum theft.
Awesome.
Is that what you're doing?
Not that story. And
Thank goodness.
That's one of the ones people were literally bringing up. So we have an inverted theme today.
We do.
An inverted theme today.
I don't have one of my famous closings because the context of this, you'll know why. But yeah, I couldn't close on it. But yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So
that's funny.
That is ridiculous. So this week we have an inverted theme. We just did a happy dance because we didn't realize that we had the same kind of a story. So this is I'm not even gonna tell you what it is. You'll just find out, I guess. My story is called The Swedish Job.
Well, the Swedish Job? Is that what you just said?
Not the Italian job, the Swedish job.
Well, I guess I'm gonna call mine The World's Greatest Art Heist. Or the world's biggest art heist, greatest art heist, either or. We'll go with it.
Fair.
We'll finalize that title later.
And it is an odd week, so you are first, my friend. I'm going to shut my iPad.
Oh boy! So yet again, we're drift compatible, and we both have fucking art themes. Who would have known? We are crime of the arts. I guess at some point we had to insert that in there. So for me, what happened is I was on a layover. I was just too exhausted. I was jet lagged. I was staying in. What I tend to do on my layovers is I like to be an old man. I like to watch Shark Tank marathons, or I like to watch like documentaries. Don't judge me.
No judgment here. I would just sit and watch like Below Deck for many hours. So
I finally know what that is. Like I happened to accidentally turn the channel, and I didn't know that existed. And I'm baffled that this is such a popular thing.
Why are you baffled? We should not have gone to college. We should have been on fucking yachts in the Mediterranean, Justin. What are you talking about?
Yes, we should have. We should have
done fucked up.
So I was on that layover. I started looking through my list of documentaries on Netflix, and I came across, some of you might be familiar with it. It's called This is a Robbery, the World's Greatest Art Heist. And it's about 4 episodes depicting a particular heist, if you will. Before I even get into the heist itself, I'm just going to ask Lisa, and I'm going to ask you guys, the listeners, are any of you familiar with the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum? Have you ever heard of that museum, Lisa?
I do know this story.
Oh, you do know it.
I do know your story. So yes, I was not familiar with this museum before hearing this story. Because I've already watched this documentary, so I'm right there with you.
See, you already know
so much information.
You can back me up on this. This is great.
I got you, bro. They also did cover it on True Crime Obsessed. They covered that documentary series. So when I was at Obsessed Fest, it's funny. Part of the reason I also did an art heist this week is because at Obsessed Fest, I had asked some people, what are your favorite kinds of crimes that fall under the creative arts that you would want to hear? And I like half of them were like an art heist. I loved the one Belva Gardner, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, cool. So that's why I did this one. And that one, I don't even think was on our list.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't. It just happened to be one of those things like, because Lisa and I, again, we don't talk to one another about what we're doing for scripts. And each of us write our scripts ahead of time, if you will. And I was in the middle of writing something else when I already started watching this. And I was like, you know what? it's been a while since we had an art heist. I was like, our very first episode, I started off with one. I'm like, I kind of need to go back to my roots. And I was so engaged with this documentary. I was like, fuck it.
Oh my God, it's amazing. We haven't spoken in a week or two.
We really have not. Yeah, pretty much. We've both been working, and then she went to Obsessed Fest, which if you guys have not already looked at all of her footage via our TikToks and our social media, please do.
My ass off. I am very proud of myself. Also, my aunt came with me, my Aunt Carrie. Shout out Aunt Carrie, because she listens to every episode and she texts me as she's doing it. She said she talks to us in her car as she's listening to it. Like, what? She's awesome. But she's also hilarious, and she made this caution tape. It looks like a tutu, but she wears it around her neck like a lion's mane almost, and she's just so fucking fabulous with this caution tape tutu. And she is hysterical. We had a fantastic time. I couldn't have picked a better person to come with me than her. She's just very outgoing. We had a blast. We did, however, stay in an Airbnb. And I swear to you, that bitch was haunted. And it was about 4,000 years old.
It probably was. It was in Ohio.
Dude,
I told you about my haunted experience out there. That's going to be a separate podcast. But yeah.
I literally, we had a whole house we rented. It had 2 bedrooms, one for each of us. We slept in the same fucking bed every night because we were both creeped out about this creepy ass house. And I mean, I was lying in my bed. We got there at 10 o'clock because it was a 6-hour drive. And first of all, it's the wrong side of the highway in Ohio. and I was like, great, I'm just going to put my mace for here and you take that one. And it's dark and I'm creeped out. And we got inside and I was like, this house is fucking old. And I started turning all the mirrors around and locking the fucking doors. I was like, it's close in this house. I could feel it. My empathicness is freaking the fuck out and it's weird in here. So yeah. So we had a blast, and I don't think I should have. I should have showed you the house that we stayed in on the TikTok, but I didn't. But what I did do is give you lots of content from those incredible performers. I mean, they really are performers, all of them, and they are so gracious and humble and amazing, and super thankful to have had the opportunity to go to the first one, first of all, and second of all. We're going next year. There will be a 2. I mean, they were sold out of everything.
We're absolutely going. Yeah. Lisa had these tickets before
we didn't even have a
fully
podcast.
Conceived the podcast. Yeah.
It was just a twinkle in my eye at the time. I was like, oh, imagine I can make a podcast. That sounds fun. And then, yeah, they were pretty incredible about just being regular people and accessible. And I talked to Payne Lindsay. I talked to Aaron and Justin from Generation Y. I did get to talk to Patrick and Joey and Ellen. I didn't get to catch Jillian, which I'm super sad about. But they were all giving great advice. And they had a mega panel where I got to ask some things. And
what happened?
I was getting a FaceTime, but it went
oh.
It moved you. I'm looking at just my. Okay. Oh no! Now I'm looking at myself. Oh no! Sweet Jesus! I don't want to see me. Ah! Okay, can we just go to you? What's happening? Okay, I guess I'm looking at myself. Oh, Justin, I'm having so many technical difficulties today. Okay.
It's one of those days.
Yeah, so it was just super cool. So we're bringing you some art heists that you maybe hadn't expected, but we have too. And I think they're very different, honestly. So
we're giving you a little variety.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are not familiar with the Gardner Museum, it's fully known as the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. It was constructed back in the day under the guidance of art collector Isabella Stewart Gardner to house her personal art collection. The museum opened to the public back in 1903, and Gardner continued to expand the collection and arrange it until she died back in 1924. So when she died, she left this museum with a $3.6 million endowment, and her will stipulated that the arrangement of the artwork should not be altered and no items were to be sold or brought into the collection. So just picture this museum as just in a way, it is a fancy artistic time capsule for this woman, if you will. And her goal was that the public deserves to see fine art.
Right. Your video is delayed to your sound and everything's just a fucking mess.
Oh, no.
Okay, you're back. I think you're back to normal.
All right.
I didn't want to like say something and then it'd be all record weird.
It'd be delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's a pretty cool concept. I mean, this woman really cared about the free public being able to access fine art, and I respect that. By the 1980s, though, the museum was running low on funds, basically. So that financial strain left the museum, some say, within poor condition. Mind you, also, this, for context, this museum is in Boston. What Boston was in 1924 versus early 90s, late 80s, very different time. We all know Boston was just very crime ridden. You had Whitey Bulger. You had some of the biggest mobsters, among other things, happening there. And it was like a new type of robbery every other week. You had armored car robberies. You had all, it was just, so yeah, you guys can imagine Boston in the 80s, even in the 90s, it was crime city. It was like Gotham with Boston accents in that regard.
Imagine all the Bostonites had to say Gotham.
Gotham, the bat. When I go to the bar, run into the bat.
Right? The bat. The Batman.
Have a Sam Adams. It's on me. It's on the bat. I shot the bat today.
Oh man, all the Bostonites are gonna hate us for our shitty Boston accents.
They are. Ben Affleck's gonna fucking no. Matt Damon's gonna mansplain something to.
I would expect nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But yeah, in the 80s, like I said, the museum funds was running low. So it lacked like the climate control system to take care of the paintings, to preserve them. Hell, it lacked an insurance policy, and it was in need of basic building maintenance. So in the 80s, though, after the FBI uncovered a plot by Boston criminals to rob the museum back in 1982, the museum actually allocated funds to improve security. And among these improvements were 60 infrared motion detectors and a closed circuit television system, which back then, I mean, that's very fancy stuff.
Right.
And it was consisting of 4 cameras placed around the building's perimeter. This was back in the 80s, mind you.
That's not a lot of cameras.
It's not a lot, especially for what's going on in Boston. Right. But I'm just painting this picture for what's to come.
They're like, put one on each corner.
Put one on each corner. We'll be fine. There were no cameras installed, though, within, as the board of trustees thought installing such equipment in a historical building would be too expensive. Go figure. We're cutting costs again when it comes to priceless things.
Catches you in the ass every time, doesn't it?
So more security guards were hired as well. And despite these security improvements, the only way police could be summoned to the museum was with a button solely at the security desk.
Well, that seems like poor planning.
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing. I'm over here. They're like, the FBI back then, revealed the plot for criminals. Did they really, or is this part of an elaborate plot to rob later on? We're going to find out. Everybody has their theories, but yeah, they only put the button right there at the desk, at the actual security desk, which is kind of weird because other museums, they all at the time had like fail-safe systems where it required watchmen. It required the night watchman to make like hourly phone calls to the police to indicate all was well. Like other places had well-established systems. It's like,
there's no internet. There's no, you're not going to your ADT thing and being like, boop, 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 boop. And then you can hit the panic button and it calls the cops.
Yeah.
At least it's not smoke signals.
It's just so weird to me. And then an independent security consultant reviewed the museum's operations back in 88. And they determined that it was on par with most other museums.
All right. I mean, ...
But they recommended improvements.
Ellipses. You should fix this. Gotcha.
Yeah. You guys up to par with the rest of them. But if I may, I really recommend these improvements here.
Oh my God.
So the security, I'm already having too much fun with this, and we haven't even got into the fun part.
Fantastic.
So yeah, that went down, and the ellipses, like, yeah, you can make more improvements, whatever.
Right.
Where was I at? Oh, the security director at the time of the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston also suggested you guys really need to upgrade your museum. Like, it's it's a suggestion, but it's recommended. We're really pushing this on you.
Upgrade the stuff that's in the museum or like the actual facility?
They need to actually upgrade the security systems within there, because like even you pointed out at the time, what they put there isn't really cutting edge, nor is it enough, because you only have one camera on each corner. And it's not like the crazy thing is you did this motion sensor stuff, but you still didn't really put any security within the museum itself. Like most museums, have tripwire, other things, not tripwire, but they have,
they got all those laser beams that you got to go like, ding, 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 ding.
This didn't have anything like.
No. Well, I mean, this is why it happened.
Well, there you go. Yeah, they suggested more upgrades to the museum in terms of security. And then because the museum's financial strain, as I mentioned, and Isabella Stewart Gardner's wishes against any major renovations, the Board of Trustees kept denying the request for security enhancements. Again, it was established in her will that, this building would not be altered. The artwork would not be, there would be no artwork added. You can't remove, you can't renovate the building. You can't do these things. I understand it was part of her wishes, but on the flip side of that, you got to get creative then. You can at least, I think me personally, if I had any sort of control of it, the inside of the museum, I'm not going to use the word altered, but within, we're going to keep the inside structurally the same, but I have to add things to that for the improvement to save.
Yeah, well, she couldn't have fathomed the fact that cameras and security systems would have existed. So, like, just get a fucking grip.
Yeah,
and just do what you got to do.
Just get a grip. Use a rational judgment. But, they were leaning more so on that because they didn't want to pay. That's clearly what that's about.
Right, fair enough.
Oh yeah, her wishes as we look at the bank statements.
Wishes and her deathbed were that we don't touch anything.
Yeah.
It's like, well, someone else is going to fucking touch it. So
yeah, someone else is going to touch it. And then you're going to be in trouble. So, but yeah, so they kept voting against making the approvals to get the security enhancements. And then the board also denied a request from the security director for higher guard salaries in a bid to attract more qualified applicants for the job.
Yeah, you get what you pay for. So if you're going to pay them the same that you pay burger flippers, they're going to have the security capacity of burger flippers.
And those current guards were paid slightly above minimum wage. So that's a problem.
That's like the guys who drive around in the, parking lots. They're just like Liberty security. They're just.
Oh, yeah.
They're just there to be eyeballs in a place rather than keep anything safe.
The usual. So that's the thing. Not only do you not have the proper upgrades for security enhancements like cameras, things like that, but you're just hiring at the bottom of the barrel. These people are barely making minimum wage, a little over it. And that security flaw, like all of the security flaws about the museum, it's an open secret amongst all the guards that work there.
Right.
Again, it's
so like you cannot see me for 7 hours if I just take this right, this left, this right, and I never am in view of any cameras.
Exactly. It's like you're right on the nose with that. I touched my nose, but nobody could see that. Obviously, I was like, you're right on the nose.
Not a visual medium.
It goes back to like the Rikers Island thing. It's like only these guards particularly know that this is real Salvador Dali and all these things. But whatever. So. Let's get to the nitty gritty. It is St. Patrick's Day, 1990.
In Boston. So everyone's drunk.
And to get technical with you, it is St. Patrick's Day night, because by now it is the tail end of St. Patrick's Day and everyone is completely obliterated and drunk in Boston. And you can imagine the crime level there during that night was already super high as fuck, people.
Everyone's puking green. Because all the beer has been dyed. And, St. Patrick's Day in Boston is like a institution. They really know how to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in Boston. So you also, along with that, you're going to have the parades and you're going to have police being diverted to all of these different, crowd control scenarios. And they couldn't have picked a better day, probably.
Exactly. Like, it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive that they chose that. So picture, if you will, towards the end of the night. Robbery occurred allegedly within the early hours of that Sunday, March 18th, which is still, it's technically a new day, but you know how we are about these things. Midnight, we still count within the same day. It's a whole argument.
If I didn't go to sleep.
Yeah, if I didn't go to sleep, it's still the same day. So these thieves were first witnessed around 12:30 a.m. by several St. Patrick's Day partiers leaving a party near the museum. The two men were disguised as police officers and parked in a hatchback on Palace Road, about 100 feet from like the side entrance of the building.
You're like, when did the cops get a Honda Civic?
This whole thing is just. The witnesses actually believed them to be policemen because they saw them in the police outfits and everything, and they were just like, "All right." And
law broken number one, impersonating a police officer.
100%. But these people didn't question it because they're drunk as fuck. They're about to finally head home from having a hearty St. Patrick's Day celebration. The museum guards on duty that night were Rick Abath, or Abath, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry. He was 23. There was Randy Hestand, age 25. Abath was a regular night watchman, and it was Hestan's first time on the night shift. So Hestan's, he's not a new guard, but he's new to the night shift. And Rick Abath has been always working the night shift since he's been.
Well, and they're also babies.
They're babies. They're young. They're
23, 25. I mean,
they got a very easy
trying
job.
so hard to be an adult.
Yeah, they're trying so hard, and they're working a night shift to a place where they know normally no one would bother. It's, it is what it is. So the security policy maintained that one guard patrolled the galleries with a flashlight and a walkie-talkie, while the other sat at the security desk. So, typical. You
gotta stay by that button, just in case.
You gotta stay by that button, and chances are he had a walkie-talkie by him as well.
Yeah, no pee-pee breaks. One of you better stay by that button.
So Abath, I'm just gonna say Abath. It's easier. Returned to the security room.
You can call him Bath Boy for all I give a shit.
Bath Boy.
We'll get there.
So Bath Boy returned to the Abath returned to the security room. Abath was on first patrol. During his patrol, fire alarms sounded off in different rooms in a museum, but he could not locate any fire or smoke. So Abath returned to the security room where the fire alarm control panel was, and it indicated smoke in multiple rooms. So not just one room, it indicated multiple rooms. And keep in mind, like, he's not smelling any smoke. There's nothing, but still.
He's the one walking around?
He was the one that was walking first, yeah.
Okay, so like you've walked in all these rooms and you didn't see anything was on fire. So what's next?
Exactly. And I mean, this building's only like 2 floors, maybe 3 tops. So I'm just saying.
Not the fucking Museum of Natural History where you got 56 galleries to go through.
And that's my point. If it was multiple rooms, then you probably would have smelled it. But obviously he is doing his job. He checked the panel. It's showing multiple rooms. He assumed some type of malfunction was happening, so he shut down the panel. I wouldn't have necessarily done that. That's a little clearly you should have did your job and checked those fucking rooms, but whatever. He went.
But I mean, who knows if he would have even found anything?
True.
Like it could have just been a complete electronic thing.
Yeah, it could have been an electronic thing, but I still would have checked. And then if it's still on, I probably would have told the other guy. I probably would have, but that's him. They're young, Yeah.
I told you they're not fully developed in the brain region at 23, 25.
So he shut down that panel thinking it was a malfunction, and he went back on patrol. And before he completed his rounds, he made a quick stop at the side entrance of the museum, briefly opening the side door and shutting it again. I'm going to let y'all take that in. Just hold on to that. I know you guys probably feel a way too about that. Lisa, how do you feel? Because I see it on your face right now.
That's really weird.
That was weird for me too. And we're gonna get back to that later on. What he has to say about that.
This door, let me just check that it's closed all the way. Open, closed. No one came in. It's fine.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
Oh yeah, the panel's just malfunctioning. Let me turn it off and let me open this door and then close the door.
Okay. Lies.
He did not tell Hestand he was doing that. And he did not explain why he was doing that to him. But we're going to come back to that later on.
He's the guy.
I'll let you guys be the judge to this in a second.
But I don't remember, so I feel like I'm hearing the story for the first time.
Abath completed his tour and he returned to the security desk around, I think at 1 a.m. I had put, at which point Heston begins his rounds. So again, alarms going off. He didn't notice anything. It said multiple rooms. He disabled it. He opens and closes the door. We only know that because of cameras. We're going to get into that later. We're going to fast forward now. 1:20 a.m. The alleged thieves drove up to the side entrance, parked, and walked up.
Where that door was? Okay. I'm watching you.
So at 1:20 a.m., these thieves drove up to the side entrance, parked, and walked up to, the side door. Okay. They rang the buzzer, which connected them to Abath through an intercom. They explained to Abath that they were police investigating a disturbance and needed to be buzzed in. These motherfuckers are good because it is St. Patrick's Day and it is in Boston.
And they made a disturbance in there.
Yeah.
And they didn't just walk up and be like, housekeeping. They had a real, story put together.
So,
all right.
Abath could see them on the closed circuit TV, and he saw they were wearing what appeared to be real police uniforms. So he was not aware of any disturbance. But his theory was that it was St. Patrick's Day, perhaps a reveler or party goer had climbed over the fence and someone had seen it and reported it. So,
but even the fire alarm panel going off,
that would have been enough.
Something that, I if it was me and the cops showed up and I had just this weird thing happen on this panel, I'd be like, those things make sense.
Yeah, I would have just assumed the panel went off for so long that the cops are coming to make sure everything's okay,
Yeah.
But apparently he wasn't even thinking that. His logic was, maybe somebody climbed the fence and someone reported it, and that's why the cops here.
I don't like this guy. This guy's full of shit.
I definitely think he had his hand partially in it, but we're
explaining away some weird things.
We're gonna get into that. Don't worry.
Okay.
So yeah, he thought that was very plausible. He thought maybe someone hopped over, whatever. So Abath let them in around 1:24 a.m. The thieves were let in to a locked foyer that separated the side door from the museum. They approached Abath at his desk and asked if anyone else was in the museum and to bring them down. Abath radioed Heston to return to security desk. Abath noticed around that time that the mustache on the taller man appeared to be fake. The shorter man told Abath that he looked familiar. Lisa's cracking up right now, people. She's fucking dying over there.
Oh my God, I love bad costumes, bad disguises.
Yeah.
They just went to Party City and bought cop uniforms and took markers and drew on their mustaches.
So picture that. You don't let him in. You happen to look and maybe the corner of the mustache is no longer holding on with the spirit glue that's bonded to your face. And maybe, just maybe your inside voice / reaction became outward.
This is weird.
Yeah, your eyes probably widened a little bit. And then as soon as you fucking did that, they were like, the shorter one was right? Yeah, the shorter one was like, you look familiar. And that he said to Abath that they might have a warrant out for his arrest. He looks familiar, like a perpetrator that they're looking for. So
that's funny.
Yeah. So they threw that on him, and then they asked him to come from behind the desk and provide his identification. So Abath complied. He stepped away from the desk where the only panic button to alert the police was. Remember, I told you that button. There's only one, and it's under the fucking desk. And he's
you also cops can't just say those things to you until you give me your ID if you break any laws. So protect yourself.
Protect yourself. Stupidness. Yeah. So he came out of there. He was away from the one single fucking alarm that this place had. And ultimately, the shorter man forced Abath against the wall, had him spread his legs, handcuffed him. Abath later on states that he noticed that he was not frisked. No shit. They were already breaking all the rules, telling you to fucking get up and go here and do this and that. now it dawns on you, hey, I wasn't frisked. He just handcuffed me.
So hold on. So he still wasn't aware that this wasn't real cops, even though he was handcuffed.
I think he was starting to process it now. He's starting to process it now. He was a little slow on the uptake.
I just imagine a bunch of like early 20-something-year-olds like smoking a bunch of pot and then walking around this dark museum all night being like, it's fine, nothing fucking happens here, I'm just gonna get a little stoned, it'll be fine. And then that's why everything is just taking longer to make sense for him.
Ridiculous. So then Heston walked into the room around this time, and a taller thief turned him around and handcuffed him. Once both guards were handcuffed, the thieves revealed their true intentions, which was to rob the museum and ask the guards not to give them any problems. In a documentary that I watched, allegedly the thieves were like, "Gentlemen, we're going to rob you," after they had handcuffed them.
That's where the name comes from.
Yeah,
this is a robbery.
But allegedly, I felt that was some free liberty taking. And a few other sources say that. I still don't believe it. You're not gonna fucking handcuff me and then go, "Gentlemen, we're going to rob you," unless you're British. Like, that's a very British thing to do. Forgive the tightness on the handcuffs, but we're going to rob you. Gentlemen. I didn't know, or like a Hans Gruber thing, like Die Hard.
Yep.
But yeah, so that went down. Sorry, I have something in my eye.
The two of us are sniffling over here in allergy hell like a bunch of crackheads.
But yeah, the thieves wrapped the guards up in duct tape around the heads and the eyes. Well, let me rephrase that. That was I said that really weird. They taped their hands together, and they also put duct tape around their eyes so they couldn't see. Without asking for any directions, they led the guards into the basement where they were handcuffed to a steam pipe and a workbench. Isn't that also a little weird? How did you know where the fucking basement was to lead us there to do that? So the thieves themselves left the basement. They examined, before they left, they checked like the wallets of the guards, and they explained that they now know where they live. Not to tell any cops or anything. Typical.
Yeah. And, I got your address. They take their IDs and shit.
If you don't tell the authorities about what we're doing here today, a year from now, we will give you a reward. That's what the thieves claimed.
Huh.
Which was also kind of weird. Yeah, you're now bribing me. Because not for nothing, anyone knows, again, don't do crime, folks. I feel like it's been a while since I said it. Don't do crime. But now that I gave the disclaimer, if I am robbing you, I'm just letting you know now, if I'm robbing you and I'm handcuffing you to a pipe in the basement, I am going to look at your ID. I am going to tell you I now know where you live. Don't come after me. But I'm not going to bribe you with a reward because, truth be told, I can't trust you. You've already seen my fucking face, whether it's disguised or not. I'm not offering rewards.
I wish that this was a visual medium, because he just went all Liam Neeson on us just now. Y'all don't know this. I have a particular set of skills. That's what Justin just did.
I'm not offering you rewards. I'm either going to leave you there, or you might just end up in the bottom of the sea because you saw my face, disguised or not. But I'm not offering rewards. That was weird as fuck. I don't know.
No, wait. With that being said, though, their disguises, weren't anything. They didn't have masks on. They didn't have anything besides like fake mustaches and stupid shit like that was really changing the way that they look or distorting their faces. So they saw their faces.
Yeah, they saw their faces pretty much. So just take that for what you will.
They're probably all fucking roommates, and they all just ran around, had a party, and then made up this whole story and said this is what happened.
Exactly, because too many things are not adding up, as you all have figured out. And you all have figured out it's not adding up. It's all too fucking fishy. Maybe that would have worked back in 1990, but now that we've all of us have spent tons of hours watching Investigation Discovery and Law and Order and all these things, we already have the questions that we would have asked, the things we would have noticed.
Right.
So yeah, they did that, and they fucking bribed them and said, if you don't say anything a year from now, we'll give you money, which is kind of just whatever.
Unimpressed.
So yeah, that went down. And this is the crazy part. After they did that to them, it took give me 1 second. Total time for them to do that. It took them like 15 minutes to subdue the guards. For the record, people, one thing they talk about in this documentary is like how this is this is like the largest art heist in history. They also talk about how it's like one of the fastest heist period in history, because the total time from when they rang the doorbell to when they left was 88 minutes, folks. That's less than an hour and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
88 minutes.
88 minutes total from the time that they knocked on that door to the time that they left. It's only 88 minutes. That's why I keep doing a lot of time intervals just to paint a picture. We started at 1 a.m. with all of this, and here we are now. It took them 15 minutes to subdue them. And now at the time that they fully subdued them, it was about 1:35. So again, they're just moving through. So after that, the thieves, they start going through the thieves' movements were recorded, quotation marks, on the infrared motion detectors, if you will. Not that that's going to do anything, because it doesn't trip. There's no alarm trip. There's no nothing. It's just you can see it on a camera, but that camera's a closed circuit only into there. So that's a whole other thing.
And like every other camera, it'll be fucking recorded over, or just something's not on, or every.
And again, the cameras are in corners, so it's like you're only seeing glimpses of these people that look like cops doing what they're doing. So yeah, thieves' movements partially recorded. They step into the first room. They entered. It's known as the Dutch room on the second floor. That didn't capture them like as a recording until 1:48. So again, 1:35, they finished up doing the guards. Then they waited 13 whole minutes before they actually started to go to a room of their choosing to initiate the heist. Why would you wait 13 minutes? It's
really a long time to just be sitting in a quiet place all by yourself when you're you just handcuffed people to a steam pipe in the basement.
Some people speculate that they were waiting to make sure no police were alerted. Which, again,
to make sure he didn't hit the button. That makes sense.
Again, I mean, that is smart as fuck. Or maybe they were just truly, I feel like they had inside knowledge of the security system and they just wanted to make sure it was true, which is why they waited 13 minutes. Because think about it. You had already moved the bait from the desk and the other guy was on walking. He couldn't do any sort of alarm. So it's interesting. But they waited 13 whole minutes before they went into that first room. So
can you imagine being the robbers, like the adrenaline you already have coursing through you, and then you just have to fucking wait for 13 minutes?
See,
feel like an eternity.
That would be an eternity. And I mean, another reason why we'll speculate later who did what or why we think they did, if anything. But, I feel like this screams inside job too, because how are you down there for 13 minutes with a hostage and nothing happened? I feel like as a hostage, I'd be trying to talk you out of this or plead with you or something. You were just there for 13 minutes, just killing time. No sort of conversation. We don't know what happened in those 13 minutes.
Right.
It doesn't add up. But like I said, 13 minutes later, around 1:48, they went to what's known as the Dutch room to get a bunch of paintings. A device began beeping that would normally trip when like a patron is too close to the painting. But again, that's not like a real alarm. It doesn't do anything. It just makes the noise. The thieves smashed it anyway. And what they took from that room, first off, from this building as a whole, they took 13 paintings. Okay.
There's a lot of 13s going on here.
A lot of 13s. They took 13 paintings. Some of them were, sorry, the way I wrote that. I was about to say Manet, but no, just give me 1 second, Lisa. Sorry.
Yeah.
How did I lose it?
Have you lost your place?
No. Well, yes, because this computer too is touchscreen, and because I touched it, I hope I didn't accidentally delete it because this is on my Microsoft Word. It's not in my Normally, I already finalize it to my documents. No, I had so many things.
Control Z.
Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
That's too funny. Okay, I am so sorry. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this can't happen. Okay, so they took 13 paintings total. It was a combination of Rembrandts, Vermeers, as well as a Manet, which we're going to get into. But in that Dutch room, the Dutch room that they first entered, they took 2 paintings. Okay.
Okay.
And that's the thing. I even have pictures of the paintings. I can show you later. But they took from that room the Storm of the Sea of Galley and A Lady and Gentleman in Black, and they threw them. Those two, for the record, those are Rembrandt paintings. And the thing about the Storm of the Sea of the Galley, why I'm mentioning it by name, if you look it up, you'll see it's a very famous oil canvas painting of. It looks like the ship is high on a wave and they're barely hanging on to the boat itself. But that is Rembrandt only ever made one type of seascape. That's the only painting that he did that he painted a seascape with, which makes it a lot more
very valuable.
Yeah. So yeah, they threw this on the marble floor, which shattered the glass frames. Using a blade, they cut the canvases out of their stretchers.
No way.
They also removed the large Rembrandt self-portrait, which is an oil painting, from the wall, but left it leaning against the cabinet. Investigators believe that they may have considered it too large to transport, potentially because it was painted on wood, not more durable canvases like the others. So like
that they could just roll up.
Yeah. So certain paintings, they were picking and choosing. I told you 2 of the Rembrandts that they stole, but they were taking other fucking paintings off the wall and then determining like, oh, this canvas might be too heavy or it'll be hard to separate it from the canvas. And they were just leaving shit like leaning on the wall, leaning on a cabinet. They were very particular.
So tell me again, which one was that self-portrait? Whose self-portrait was that?
Rembrandt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't take the self-portrait. That's the one they left. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that's what they're speculating, that they left some of those paintings there because of the way the canvases were, things like that. Instead, the thieves took a small postage stamp sized self-portrait etching, which was also by Rembrandt, on display beneath the larger portrait. So picture, if you will, a self-portrait.
I remember that. Yeah.
It's like you have the main self-portrait and underneath it you have a tiny picture of that portrait. They took the tiny picture of the same fucking portrait.
That's so funny. They were just like, oh, fuck it. That thing's too big.
Yeah. So on the right side of the room, they removed what's called Landscape with Obelisk and the Concert from their frames. The final piece taken from the room was an ancient Chinese gu, or it might be pronounced GU because it's the letters GU. But the thing about it is, Landscape with Obelisk is actually from the Dutch artist Govert Flinck. Which is also,
we should have also put a disclaimer at the beginning of this that we don't know how to pronounce a fucking thing, because I literally have one in here.
And the other painting that they took was the Concert, and that's a Vermeer. And the thing about Vermeer paintings too, I need to point out to people, Vermeer is a famous Dutch artist. Vermeer only has 34 paintings in existence, and this museum had 2 of them, and they fucking took the only 2 Vermeers that this museum had. So picture that. You only have 34 pieces of work in existence and already 2 are gone. You guys can start to see how this is adding up. I'm not going to name every single painting that was taken because that's a lot. If you'd like to do the homework and look into this, if you're intrigued by this, you can check out.
It's in your notes somewhere.
Oh, 100%. I'm also going to put the link on that, which it'll show you all 13 paintings and what it looks like, just so you guys could see it, or if you want to watch that documentary as well. But
maybe I'll try to drop some of them, like, we have 2 pictures on our cover. Maybe I'll do a bunch and just put the paintings all on the cover.
That would be dope. So yeah, at 1:51 a.m., while one thief continued working in the Dutch room, the other entered a narrow hallway dubbed the Short Galley, which was on the other end of the second floor. So the other thief joined soon. And in this room, they began removing screws for a frame displaying a Napoleonic flag, likely an effort to steal the flag itself, obviously, but they appeared to have given up partway through as not all the screws were removed. So picture you come in to investigate this crime scene and you're seeing portraits politely placed on the wall, on file cabinets, and then like you're looking at this Napoleonic flag and you're like, oh, clearly they went for this, but the screws are still hanging in there and they just were like, it's too time consuming.
Fuck it. Yeah.
So it's just weird. Again, very calculated, or so it seems, what they were doing. They also took 5 Degas sketches from the room, and the last work stolen was forgive me, was
Words are hard.
Shea Tortoni from the Blue Room on the first floor. The museum's motion detectors did not detect any motion while within the Blue Room during the thieves' time in the building. The only footsteps detected in the room that night were Abave's during the 2 times he passed through the galley on his patrol earlier. So one of the rooms allegedly they did not enter. They did not enter the Blue Room.
So they didn't enter the Blue Room, but they got something out of the Blue Room?
No, they didn't get anything from the Blue Room.
Okay.
Actually, I'm sorry. No, wait. Shatori from the Blue Room. That is weird. Yeah. Double checking.
Maybe Mr. Abath just moved it out for him.
The plot thing. No. Yeah. So they did steal it from. According to the reports, that painting is missing. But again, the only footsteps detected that night were Abave's in the Blue Room during the 2 times he passed through. Their footsteps were not in there. They didn't trip anything. They were not in there allegedly. And again, all the paintings I told you about predominantly were on the 2nd floor, each side of the corridor they took from. So as they let that sink in.
Mr. Abath, I'm watching you.
Yeah. So
he's like a millionaire on an island somewhere now.
Possibly. As they prepare to leave, the thieves checked on the guards one last time and asked if they were comfortable. And they moved to
bro, you good? You got pee? G lunch?
How you lads doing? How you chaps doing today? They then moved to the security director's office where they took the video cassettes that recorded their entrance on the CCTV cameras and the data printouts from the motion detecting equipment. How did they know to do that? Again, you guys let me know what you think.
So wait, how does anybody know any of this shit happened if they took all that stuff?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Literally, I was one sentence away.
Down and wait.
The movement data was still captured on a hard drive. That's how we know what happened, which remained untouched. So apparently, however they got their information on how to do all of this, they weren't aware that this fucking had a hard drive. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Come on, Abath. You better get your shit together.
And the frame for Shea Totoni was left at the security director's desk. So they probably decided we can't keep this frame or carry this frame. We're going to drop it. And the thieves then moved to take the artwork out of the museum. The side entrance doors were opened once at 2:40 a.m. and again for the last time at 2:45 a.m. And as I was telling you before, the robbery lasted only 81 minutes. So what happens now is next shift, the guards arrived later in the morning and they realized something was weird when they could not establish contact with anyone inside to be let in. So they called the security director, who upon entering the building with his keys, found nobody at the watch desk. And then the security director called police. The police searched the building until they found the guards still tied up in the basement.
Oh, man.
See, and the second set of guards, they had common sense. They're like, we can't get a hold of anyone. Let me call security director. Let me do this. Not for nothing, Abath with the malfunctioning control panel, even if you don't want to do your job and look at each floor or call whomever, you could have at least called the security director to let them know that was happening.
Yeah, you could have called your boss and been like, this stupid panel's going off. What do you want me to do?
So that went down, and in total, 13 works were stolen. In 1990, mind you, the FBI estimated the value of this haul to be like $200 million.
Wow.
By 2000, though, because again, I told you, like I said, I didn't name every single piece of art, but I did name very particular ones to you guys because of the rarity about them. And this $200 million value, early 2000, jumped up to 500 million.
Oh my God. $500 million?
$500 million.
Holy shit.
In late 2000, some art dealers even suggested the haul could be worth 600 million. It was considered the highest value museum robbery until just 2019, once the Dresden Green Vault burglary happened, and that's a whole topic we can cover another day. But
never heard of it, so we're gonna have to.
We're gonna have to. That one, I could tell you now. I believe the estimated value of that whole robbery was over $1 billion. But again, that wasn't just artwork. So this is why I still titled this the largest art heist in history, because that was like the other one's diamonds, other things. But this is just solely artwork. That art alone, and it's only 13 pieces, equates to over $500 million right now. Some speculate over 600 million. Okay. So, and I'm going to put in my sources, I'm going to put a link so you can see everything that was there. But let's get into this, because obviously the way I just worded something, some of you are probably like, does that mean this was never solved? Maybe you're right. We're going to go into the circumstances of all of that now. So let's get into like early leads that they had or people of interest. FBI automatically had to get involved due to the fact that this is artwork, which could have crossed state lines, and it was already at a high value. So investigators called the case unique for its lack of strong physical evidence. You think? Like,
first of all, where the fuck was their physical evidence in the 80s anyway?
Well, this is 90, but still, early 90s. I mean,
they didn't know how to test anything.
Yeah, the thieves, that's the catch. The thieves did not actually leave behind footprints. They didn't leave hair. And it is inconclusive if the fingerprints left at the scene were from the thieves or museum employees, because it is a museum.
And it's a museum open to the public. All of this stuff is within hand's reach. An alarm's going to yell at you, but nothing else is going to stop you from touching it.
Exactly. And the FBI had ended up doing some DNA analysis in the years following as advancements in forensics and everything grew. But some of the evidence has been lost among their files. The guards
what else is fucking new?
The guards and the witnesses in the street described one thief as about 5'9" to 5'10" in his late 30s, medium build, and the other as 6 foot or 6'1" in his earlier 30s with a heavier build. And I'm in my sources too. You're going to be able to see the police sketches that are done, because even in the sketches, I hate to say it, it looks like they're wearing fake mustaches. It looks like one of them might be wearing fake sideburns. It's pretty fucking impressive to me. That,
he got. Did he have what do we call them? Middle muttons?
No mid muttons, but it looks like he has long hair, and it's just the sideburns are growing out of it to kind of right here. No mid muttons.
And dude, the truth is, I don't know why we even do this whole sketch artist thing, because it almost never looks like the actual person. Like everything about, I don't understand the concept of me looking at you, right? If you were a sketch artist and being like, no, his eyes were more rounder than that. I just don't understand how I would even explain it to you. And then men don't even understand what women wear, like that they live with on a daily basis. You're going to take two 20-something-year-olds and tell them, please describe to me what this person looks like in accuracy.
Exactly. I feel like the only time the rendering is going to work is if the person you're asking for a description from, I don't know, they're like an avid RPG gamer, and they're just like, I've waited my whole life for this. So 20 centimeters dilated from the nose to separate the eye, and it's an oval shape. Like, they're going to be very discreet, and
they're just not good. They're just, most of the time they're not helpful. They just blur the lines of reality and get everybody confused. I hate them. I think it's so stupid.
So yeah, they kept trying to figure out things. They were running low on leads. We're going into potential suspects back in the day who they had interest in. Up first, Ricky Abath.
I mean, duh.
He should have been number one on the list, which he was. Security guard Rick Abath was investigated early on because of his suspicious behavior the night of the theft, which we talked about. I said this motherfucker opened that door and closed it for no reason.
He just unlocked it and just made sure, they're here. No, they're not here yet. I'm early. Okay, hold on. I'll just need to shut this again.
So yeah, when he was on his patrol, he briefly opened and shut that door, a move which some of us all believe could have been the signal to the thieves parked outside. That could have been the signal, come on in. Abeif told authorities that he did this routinely to ensure the door was locked. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Do you know how to check a locked door, Justin? Because that's not it.
That's definitely not it. And one of Abeif's colleagues told journalists that if Abeif had opened the door routinely as he maintains, supervisors would have seen it on computer printouts and put a stop to it. So there you go. More suspicion has been drawn from the museum's motion detectors, which did not detect any movement in the blue room, which housed that Shea Tortoni portrait that I said.
Yeah, I'm smart. I know what I'm asking about over here.
You're
you know
smart.
some shit.
You know some things. Yeah, the only footsteps in that room that night were Abeif's during his security patrol. So a security consultant reviewed the motion detector equipment several weeks after the theft and determined that it was operating correctly. Abeif maintains his innocence. And the FBI agent overseeing the case in its early years determined that the guards were too incompetent and foolish to have pulled off the crime.
They're too stupid to do it.
That's actually what they put in the report. Yeah.
So funny.
We were already saying that from the jump. I'm like, this man's handling things the fucking wrong way all the time.
Oh, that's very entertaining.
So, yeah, they wrote him off.
Which seems, I mean, he could be playing dumb. That kind of annoys me. Why are we writing him off?
He could be playing dumb. It could be the usual suspect scenario. He could be playing dumb. Or again, he could have been working with them and really thought he was going to get a cut. And maybe he didn't get anything. Like they played the fuck out of him because he is an idiot. But in 2015, though, FBI released a security video. Again, if you watch the documentary, you can see the security footage on there. But before, you used to be able to access on the web, like CNN, a bunch of places used to have it. Now they've all taken it down, which we'll get to a reason behind that later. But yes, in 2015, the FBI released a security video from the museum on the night before the theft, showing Abeif buzzing in an unidentified man into the museum.
What?
To talk to briefly at the security desk.
Shut up. No, he did not.
I swear to you. This footage popped up in 2015, people. 2015, the FBI released that security video.
And they weren't like, maybe we should go look at him again.
Abeif told investigators he could not recall the incident or recognize the man. And so the FBI requested the public's assistance. Several former museum guards came forward and said the stranger was Abeif's boss, the museum deputy security chief. So he got out of that.
All right. Bullshit.
Next up on a list of suspects back then, Whitey Bulger. Whitey fucking Bulger was listed as a suspect because, again, this was Boston, the height of his power, and it was within his own turf.
Could you imagine if Whitey Bulger is the one who pulled off this?
We're going to get there about that because he had some stuff to say too.
God.
So Whitey Bulger, one of the most powerful fucking crime bosses in Boston during that era, people. If you're not familiar with him, look him up. If you're into Johnny Depp,
fucking movie.
The movie was amazing. Black Mass with Johnny Depp and Joel Edgerton. Highly recommend it. But yeah, he was heading the Winter Hill gang back then. FBI approached this man's doorstep about the situation. And those that know Whitey Bulger, you know he ended up working with the FBI for a brief period of time as well. They approached him about this because he was already technically working for them. Whole thing. He says he did not organize that heist. He went on to say that he sent his own agents, because again, he was buddy with FBI. He sent his own agents and his own people out in an attempt to determine who did the robbery because it was committed on his turf and he wanted to be paid proper tribute. So even Whitey Bulger in his glory days,
the balls on this guy.
He's out there searching for this motherfucker. FBI searching for this motherfucker. Like all these people, and he's a very well-connected man. If Whitey Bulger couldn't find these two people, then that's telling you something. Like,
that's so funny.
So, FBI agent Thomas McShane investigated Bulger for his involvement. He determined that Bulger's strong ties with the Boston police could explain how the thieves acquired legitimate police uniforms, or perhaps the real police were arranged to do the heist. You know, that's exactly why they went to Bulger in the first place. Bulger also had relations with, you know, the IRA, the Irish Republican Army. Mm-hmm. So McShane had identified the bogus tripping of the fire alarms ahead of the heist. He considered that a calling card of the IRA and the rival, you know, Ulster Volunteer Force, UVF. Both organizations had agents in Boston at the time, and both had demonstrated capability in the past of pulling off art heist. So that's why Thomas McShane, FBI agent Thomas McShane, had investigated Bolger.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's unpack that for a second. So, wow.
Yeah.
That is really, really, really possible.
Oh, you think that
Really?
Bolger still did it, or you think the IRA
Yeah,
technically did it? He could have. Yeah.
Well,
he had
he
the
could
means.
have done it in conjunction with the IRA.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You just blew my mind. That's crazy. And you just need these fucking idiots to just be idiots. And then you give them a couple, you throw them a little bit here and there and they.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
So,
I bet you fucking Whitey Bulger is sitting on some paintings right now. I cannot.
I don't know if he's sitting on I feel like if he was involved somehow, though, he's just bad, because they finally caught him a few years ago. Did they? Yeah, they finally caught him.
Yeah.
Maybe once upon a time he sat on those paintings. Maybe he gave them away so he can cross. Cause when he left our country to evade being arrested, maybe he paid people off with it. I don't know. Again, IRA, that was a very prominent thing in Boston within there, so that is a possibility. But McShane's investigation of Bolger and the IRA did not produce any evidence to tie them to the theft. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, because we know Whitey Bulger had several people within the FBI that was manipulating and falsifying reports anyway. So, I mean, in theory, he could possibly be involved. I guess we'll never know.
Not bad. Not a bad theory.
But according to Charlie Hill, a retired art and antiques investigator for Scotland Yard, Bolger gave the Gardner works to the IRA, and they are most likely in Ireland. That's the theory that this antiques investigator claims.
Yeah, why not? Sure. I mean, it's all that all seems feasible to me, more than fucking a bait or whatever his name is being some kind of conspirator and playing dumb. I think that this is all much more realistic.
Well, we're gonna get a little crazier now.
Okay.
So
dive on in.
A few years into this investigation, nothing's panning out. They think it's not Whitey Bulger. They think it's not Ricky Abeth. In 1994, the museum director Anne Hawley received an anonymous letter from someone who claimed to be attempting to negotiate a return of the artwork. The writer explained that they were a third-party negotiator and did not know the identity of the thieves. They explained that the artwork was stolen to reduce a prison sentence. But as the opportunity had passed, allegedly, there was no longer a motive to keep the artwork, and they wanted to negotiate a return. The writer explained that the artwork was being held in a non-common law country under climate-controlled conditions.
Oh.
They wanted to reassure that the paintings were safe, basically. They wanted immunity for themselves and all others involved, and they wanted $2.6 million for the return of the artwork, which would be sent to an offshore bank account at the same time the art was handed over. If the museum was interested in negotiating, they should print a coded message in the Boston Globe to establish credence. The writer conveyed information only known by the museum and the FBI at the time, so this letter appeared to be legit. Crazy. Years go by. I mean, we got nothing. We got a letter.
I just feel like you have to be so well connected to kind of pull off something like this. Like this whole Whitey Bulger IRA. I feel like it would have to be them. I mean, how are you going to have all this international storage facilities and blah, blah, blah? It all takes money. You had to get that stuff out of Boston somehow, right? I mean, it's so interesting.
And this also screams inside job to me for many reasons, too, because one thing I'm going to bring up into this story, because I found it interesting later on after I saw the documentaries, I started doing research for all of that. Again, these people stole these 13 paintings, and some of them they decided not to take with them. They thought they might be too heavy, all this other bullshit, whatever. But the thing about this, some say calculated heist, some say just random heist, is they actually didn't take the most expensive painting out of the fucking museum. The most expensive painting in that museum is Titian's The Rape of Europa, which was hanging in the third floor galley. I'm sorry, gallery. I feel like I'm still at work. I'm like, galley. I have to galley, right? Galley. But anywho, it was hanging in the third floor gallery. You can look that painting up for yourself. It is quite big, but honestly, they could have broken the frame and just took it out. They chose not to take that painting for whatever reason. And it was the most valuable painting at that time within that building, and they left it untouched.
Well, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to rob a museum, I mean, just thinking strategically, the thing that's worth the most is going to have the most eyes on it. So, like, how do you resell something that's worth the most out of a place?
You know,
I don't think I would pick that one either.
But we've seen Art Heist in the past take some stuff that was even more valuable than that painting that they didn't take, and you're gonna have eyes on you, but it seemed like these people already knew the ins and outs of the security system and everything else. You took. They were picky and choosy. But you still took some of the most rarest shit, though. Like, I mean, eyes are still going to be on you. The fact that we don't know where these Rembrandts are, or these Vermeers, or any of that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So me personally, don't do crime, folks. I'm gonna be 100% with you guys right now, and gonna be like, wow, that's pretty dark. Would I have personally taken the most expensive painting?
Yes.
No, actually. If
you wouldn't have.
Because again, I'm more focused on the symbolism behind all of this. So I'm already taking like the only Rembrandt that was a seascape, things like that. But I will tell you this, I would have intentionally destroyed that most expensive painting. Like, I would have fucking slashed it. I would have left it up there just because I could get away with it. That's just me.
Maniacal, Justin. Justin's a maniacal villain.
I told you I was going to go a little dark. I would have took whatever paintings needed, but I would have left that up there. And, you know, just
like a big fuck you.
Yeah, a big fuck you. I just would have been like, oh, the rape of, probably would have put some spray paint, some red paint on that shit. That's just me. But don't do crime, folks. And I'm not saying I would do the crime. But we're going to go back to this letter now. I just wanted to explain that fact that they didn't take the most expensive thing.
Gotcha.
Going back to the letter, Hawley felt that was a strong lead, the museum director. So she actually contacted the FBI, who then contacted the Globe. And the coded message was printed on May 1st, 1994, in an edition of the Boston Globe. Hawley received a second letter a few days later in which the writer acknowledged the museum was interested in negotiating, but the person has now become fearful of what they perceived was a massive investigation by federal and state authorities to determine their identity.
Well, duh.
The writer explained that they needed time to evaluate their options, but Hawley never heard from the writer again. Dun, dun, dun. And just remember that. They never heard from the writer again. I'm going to mention something later on, and maybe you'll have the same theory that I have. We'll find out. Now we're going to go into Brian McDevitt. He was a con man from Boston who had tried to rob the Hyde collection in Glen Falls, New York back in 81. He dressed up as a FedEx driver, carried handcuffs and duct tape, and he had planned to steal a Rembrandt. He was also a known flag aficionado and fit the description of the larger robber, except for the thinning red hair.
Oh, with the Napoleonic flag?
Yeah.
Okay.
So these parallels to the Gardner case fascinated the FBI, so they interviewed him in the late 90s.
I just have to tell you what flashed in my head.
What happened?
You watched Big Bang Theory, right?
Of course.
Okay. The flag, when Sheldon and Amy have the flag show, and it's like a flag aficionado. That's what I pictured.
That's what you pictured, just with the red hair. Oh, now it's Sheldon and Amy.
Now they're in the Gardner Museum stealing flag. Look at this flag over here.
Ridiculous. No.
My brain.
Oh, you're good. You're good. So McDevitt denied any involvement and refused to take a polygraph test. The FBI ran his fingerprints, which did not match any at the crime scene. So McDevitt later moved to California and conned his way into television and film writing. He died back in 2004.
Of course he went to Hollywood. He's a con man.
Like, this shit's crazy, though, when I tell you, like, their investigations was drawing them everywhere. They started investigating all of the Boston Mafia. They were looking at the Merlino gang. They were looking at Robert Garanti and Robert Gentile, which they're associated with the Merlino gang. Both of them were. But Robert Garanti's widow, Elaine, told the FBI in 2010 that her husband had previously owned some of the paintings. She claimed that when her husband got sick with cancer in the early 2000s, he gave the paintings to Robert Gentile, to keep safe. Gentile denied the accusations, claiming he was never given any sort of paintings and he knew nothing of the whereabouts.
I mean, of course he has to say that.
Federal authorities indicted Gentile on drug charges back in 2012, likely in an attempt to pressure Gentile for information about the Gardner works, the Gardner paintings. He submitted to a polygraph test, which indicated he was lying when he denied any knowledge of the theft or location of the artwork. Gentile maintained he was telling the truth and demanded a retest. During the retest, he said Elaine had once shown him the missing Rembrandt self-portrait, to which the polygraph machine indicated he was telling the truth. Gentile's lawyer felt that the veracity of Gentile's claims were being affected by the large presence of the federal agents, and he requested a smaller meeting in hopes that it would give Gentile a chance to speak honestly in like a more intimate setting, whatever. Gentile maintained that he did not have any information. A few days later, the FBI stormed Gentile's house in Manchester with a search warrant. The FBI found a secret ditch beneath a false floor in the backyard shed, but found it was empty.
No way.
Gentile's son explained that the ditch flooded a few years prior, and his father was upset about whatever was stored there. In the basement, they found a copy of the Boston Herald from March 1990 reporting the theft, along with a piece of paper indicating what each piece might sell for on the black market. Beyond this, no conclusive evidence was found to indicate he had ever had the paintings.
That's crazy.
Gentile went to prison for 30 months on drug charges. If he knew information about the theft, at no point did he opt to share it, which would have reduced the sentence or freed him from prison. After getting out of prison, he spoke with investigative reporter Stephen Kurjan, claiming he was framed by the FBI. He explained how the imprisonment was detrimental to his finances and his personal life. He also explained that the list found in his basement was written up by a criminal trying to broker return of the works from Garanti, and was talking to Gentile as the intermediate guy. When asked about what could have been in a ditch, Gentile could not recall, but believed it could have been small motors.
Okay. Then why are you so sad that they're wet? Motors get wet. It's just what happens.
So for years, and I'm telling you, like, for years, FBI just couldn't get hard evidence. They couldn't figure this shit out.
There's so much circumstantial random shit going on here that it could just lead you down multiple rabbit holes. How could nothing is a foothold, you know? Exactly.
And it got to the point where the FBI started, asking us regular people for help. If we know anything, if we've seen anything, they put the descriptions out there.
They went on web sleuths or something crazy.
Yeah, they started with a very minimum reward, but now that reward is up to $10 million today.
Oh, man.
10 mil. Like, wow. It is probably only going to get higher at this rate.
Can you pause for 1 second? I have like pee up to my eyeballs. I have to go.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Good.
Sorry, I have many liquids. Now I got another drink. I just drank like 40 ounces of water.
No, you're
Thought
good.
I was going to drop dead just now. Sorry.
So picture that. All these years, we haven't had anything physical. Anytime we think we have a lead, there's nothing. No one's talking. No one's corroborating. Just it's he said, she said. It's nothing that's going to stick. This case has been unsolved. However, 2022, this year, a new player enters the game. Or should I just say, like, a new piece of evidence? So,
okay. I don't know this update at all.
Okay.
Okay.
As I started to tell you now, like this Gardner case now involves several people that were suspected, including the mobsters, and I named all of this. But now, as people are trying to trace events and details and things, they believe the 1991 murder of a Lynn Man, that's like the town within Boston, could be connected to the Gardner Museum heist. So here's what's happening right now. James Marks, aka Jimmy Marks.
That's mobster name? Jimmy Marks.
Yep, Jimmy Marks. He was known by most as a hustler and a convicted bank robber. He was killed back in February 1991 when he was entering his home when someone shot him in the back. His murder has never been solved. Another man.
So, okay, hold on. Let's go back with dates just so I'm continuity's sake. This robbery happened
In 1990.
In 1990.
And in 1991, this man got shot in the back.
Got it. Okay.
His murder's never been solved. Another man I just mentioned momentarily ago, Robert Garrenti, was implicated years later in Jimmy Marks' murder and was also a person of interest, as you know, in the Gardner heist that we're talking about right now, potentially tying Marks to the heist. So
this is the guy whose wife said that he had all these things when he died, and then he gave them to the other guy.
Yeah.
And then that guy had a ditch under his shed.
Yeah.
And that's where all the paintings were.
It's the guy who has the bench and was the mediator allegedly and knew nothing of the paintings. He is now allegedly tied to this murder of Jimmy Marks.
Okay.
And he knew Jimmy Marks. Anthony Amore, current museum security director, is now talking
today.
Yeah, today.
Okay.
He's now the one talking about the connection between the heist and the murder in hopes that it might result in new people coming forward with more information.
Oh, that's crazy.
So on March 18th, 1990, the whole heist went down. I told you all about that. But what we're getting at now is I told you already about Aline Garrenti. She was the widow of that mobster, and she said all those things, yada, yada. But sorry, I lost my place.
Well, you better find it, Justin.
No, I'm back. Oh, yeah. Aline Garrenti, I told you she had claimed all these things. What I did not mention before, because this was new evidence that happened earlier this year. 5 years later, after she admitted all of those initial things, she went on to say that her husband had been a close friend with Jimmy Marks and was with him the day that he was killed.
Oh, well. Does she walk around like wearing furs of dead animals and hold glasses of martinis that look like a mob wife? She's like totally ridiculous. How is she spilling so much fucking tea?
Elaine Garanti told investigators that her husband had admitted to killing Marks after the fact.
What?
But Robert died in 2004 before Elaine told investigators his admission. So they can't talk to him about this or investigate him about this. She conveniently says all of this shit after he's now dead.
Is she just a clout grabber? Like, is she just wanting to be important?
I don't know if it's clout or maybe just the guilt ate her up to the point where she's just confessing for all this shit. I don't know, but
she's just like, my husband, he died. So now I got to tell you all the stories because I cannot take them to my grave.
He was with Jimmy the day that he died. Yeah. Like,
you know, he's probably the guy who shot Jimmy Marks. He's got to be that guy.
This guy gets shot in the back while entering his home. No one can solve this case. Now you're coming out your mouth going, he actually, my husband was with him the day that he died.
Your mouth.
No, but this is crazy. She literally goes, my husband was friends with him, best friends with him, and was with him the day that he died. And then later on, she's going, oh, my husband killed him. Like, what?
Right. What? Well, excuse me, ma'am?
So, Boston PD they're hoping to corroborate Elaine Garrenti's account of Mark's death. They feel Marks had connections to everybody that was an initial suspect due to their mob ties. And they feel that Marks might have been involved himself now within the actual heist itself. But we'll never know because he's dead. I guess they could dig him up, but they're nowhere near the level of investigation to create the evidence.
If they were to disinter him, what is there even to find? There's no evidence to even compare it to.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
But yeah,
so
the police are now trying to put things together. They're speculating at the moment that his death, Jimmy Mark's death, could have been related to the heist itself. According to, according to Police Chief Mark O'Toole, currently, several days after Jimmy Marks was killed, detectives went to a restaurant to interview some related to the heist case, and by chance, they saw 4 men, including Robert Garanti and his longtime friend Robert Gentile, a Connecticut mafia member who would later be deemed a person of interest in the case. I told you how they both were labeled. So just days after Jimmy Marks was killed, you happen to run into all 4 of these men by chance.
No, I don't. Yeah, not a chance. No. That's so crazy. Okay. All right, go ahead. Let me just shut up.
No, you're good. So for those of you that's been listening, and I know I've been going back and forth in timelines because it's so much, I'm sure you have theories. One of my theories was, look at the timeline this maps out. Heist in 1990. Jimmy Marks killed in 91. Mysterious letter in 94. I think it's fucking Garanti's wife, if I'm being honest with you. That person backs out. That person backs out with the letters. We don't hear from them again. And now later on in the year, she's just out here spilling tea like all the time.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's probably true. That has the most connections that actually make sense without them being, the IRA.
Exactly.
Because that's just all speculative. But this is actually circumstantial with this shed with the fake false floor and the blah, blah,
it's all
blah.
Circumstantial, but that's the thing. 2010,
So going back for a second, the actual robbery was only completed by 2 people. Only 2 people walked in dressed as cops. No other people ever came in.
2 people. No other people ever walked in. Remember in the video it showed the day before that somebody was with a bath, but several of his coworkers are backing him, saying it was this.
That is the boss.
Yeah, it was the boss. Right. Even though you can't see it on the thing. You can't see who the figure is. But yeah, only 2 people walked in. Again, they seem to know where everything was. They did everything within 88 minutes total, counting the time they opened the door and they closed it. And again, Jimmy Marks a year later is killed. And when the police are investigating 2 of the men, they happen to run into all 4 at the same time. And you have this person's wife in 2010 talking about, in 2010, I had told you guys, Elaine says she saw her husband give 2 paintings to Gentile, and it's fucking crazy. It's just crazy.
And that's probably the closest they're ever going to get to solving it. So none of the paintings have been recovered?
Not a single painting has been recovered. We have never actually come close to finding who those 2 men were. We haven't come close to anything. We just have a bunch of hearsay. And now, again, this person's wife was like spilling the tea on all of these things. But again, I just said recently, and this is very recent. This was like back in February when they started to connect the 2 about Jimmy Marks and who he worked with and who he was associated with. There's just too much going on. There's too many. I hate to say it. Boston was so crime ridden back then. There's too many mobs. There's too many gangs. There's too many other things that was happening all at once. This was just too organized. We did it on St. Patrick's Day. We got in, we got out with the perfect alibi of, let me in. We're cops. We're just checking disorderly, whatever.
And then we were picky choosy, making sure we got the ones that we wanted to get and left the ones that were too big or whatever it was. There was no buyer for. It's really, really interesting to think about these 2 guys. And was one of them like higher up in the food chain than another one?
I mean, they both were pretty high up. One was just Connecticut. One was Boston. That's really, you know what I mean? But no one's higher than Whitey Bulger. I mean, he was the highest.
Right.
So this is just one of those stories. I know normally you guys, I give you some meaningful closure. I cannot do that with this story because there's nothing there. Usually I give a closer on things that are finite, but I can't.
There's nothing that's been done.
There's nothing that's been done. How crazy is that? Like, here we are 30 something years later.
I don't know if you saw this, but apparently because of the way her will was written, that nothing should be removed and nothing should be taken, that there's empty frames still hung up where those paintings were in that museum.
It's just empty fucking frames.
It's crazy. Again, someone just have a little common sense.
And I think it's the original frames. Yeah.
Yes, they're frames broken. That they cut them out of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Couldn't be removed, so they put them back up on the wall. I mean, it seems a little insane, like how exact they followed her will.
It's creepy. Because
she's dead, everybody. She don't know the fucking difference.
It is creepy. And my beef with all of this too is maybe they did, whoever took the paintings, maybe they did sell them. Maybe they're in another country, they're overseas, they're black market. But if they did not sell them, there's not a chance in hell now that in 2022 they'll be able to sell them. I mean, those are definitely, all those paintings are on that registry. You can't move them. Yeah. You can't move them. And I don't know if ultimately they were buried in that ditch and flooded in that ditch. What the hell? That was all for nothing too.
Right. The whole thing's for nothing if you just put them under fucking ground in Boston. Just seems stupid.
Yeah, but that, my friends, that's the infamous Gardner Museum heist, if you will. America's largest art theft. Yeah.
I love your update because I feel like this has been covered on other podcasts and other platforms, but I didn't know about that. So that's cool that you brought that to us. I love that story. Thank you. And the way you told it was super exciting. I feel like I was hearing it for the first time.
Yeah. Listen, I was sitting in London watching
I was in London. No. Blah, blah, blah.
Sorry. I was just watching the last episode and I'm just like, because I started this like a few weeks ago, but I finally finished it now. And I'm just like, this is fucking bananas. And even the documentary doesn't have the latest update to that because that documentary was filmed last year. It came out last year. I didn't know that. Yeah. Or it came out 2020.
Yeah, it's so funny that you said that you were in London because I think I was driving back or I don't know. I was on Facebook and you had posted a thing, whatever, that you were in London. I was like, this motherfucker is in London right now.
Yeah, I told you. I was like, I
went to Columbus, Ohio, and I was very excited. And this sucker's sitting in London.
I was sitting in London, being an old man, watching stuff and falling asleep, and wishing I was at the conference with you. I was like, I wish I was at Obsessed Fest. Yeah. Too funny.
Okay, so
wait, give me one sec before you start. I'm gonna go turn the air on. Hold on.
Okay. Just going to smack cans on glass and make lots of noise.
All right. Give me 1 second. There we go.
Take your time.
All right. I'm ready.
Oh, God. My son hasn't napped yet, so the whole world's going to be over tonight.
Good luck with that.
Okay. So this week I said I'm going to tell you the story about the Swedish Job.
Ooh, the Swedish Job.
So we all know the movie The Italian Job, but this is the Swedish Job. So the plot of this story features everything from car bombs, armed robbery, and an escape by speedboat.
Speedboat.
Speedboat. You heard me.
Oh, shit. Okay. This is going to be interesting.
And this heist is of Stockholm's National Museum, and it happened in the year 2000. And it seems more in keeping with an over-exaggerated action movie than with an event that actually happened in the real world. So here's my disclaimer from the top. There's a whole bunch of Swedish names that I'm going to attempt to pronounce correctly, and I will more than likely fuck all of them up. So apologies in advance. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of backstory. The National Museum is one fucking word. Why the Swedes do this, I don't know, but it says National Museum, one word. It is a large museum located in Stockholm, Sweden. It was founded in 1792 as the Royal Museum. Okay. And they had it written in Swedish, but I left that out for all of you because I didn't want to attempt to even butcher it. So the present building, as it stands now, was actually built in 1866.
Okay.
That's when it was renamed the National Museum. And it's inspired by North Italian Renaissance architecture. It is the design of a German architect. Here we go. Friedrich August Stuhler. And he also designed the News Museum in Berlin.
Okay.
I'm going to put pictures of it. No, maybe I won't put them on the cover because I think we're going to do the paintings on the cover. I like that idea. But you can go into my sources. There's a really cool website that I found. There's a section on their website that shows you the history of the building.
Right.
And it's beautiful. I mean, the building looks like a bank almost out of Money Heist. Like, that vault they go, what is it? The treasury or whatever in the second one. It's like this huge building similar to that vibe. So the exterior of it is like very closed. You're not like, there's no glass walls and it's an older building and it looks like it.
It's older, but it's still beautiful with its architecture. Yeah.
Yes. And it gives no hint of how spacious the interior is. It's dominated by this huge flight of stairs that lead up to the topmost galleries. And they're gorgeous. There's these 3 huge sculptures that greet you as you come up to the area where the staircase is. It kind of reminds me of the staircase. It's like a reverse Titanic staircase. You know how you go up the middle and then you go out to the left and right?
Yeah.
It comes from the left and right into the middle. And you have all these, you have this trio of statues, and there are 2 at the bottom, 1's at the top, and it's gorgeous. And then as you go into the galleries in the open area on the first floor, if you look up, there's all sculptures leaning over the railings, kind of like looking down into the gallery. It's just, they use the art in like a very decor way.
Right.
It's not like you're just walking through and there's art everywhere. So like I said, I put a link in the show notes. Go check out the history of this building. It's super cool. So the museum was actually enlarged and made bigger in 1961 to accommodate the museum workshops. And there's a restaurant in there, and it was installed in 96.
Okay.
So we're on similar time frames here.
What's with all the art heist in the 90s?
Yeah,
was that just
know.
the fad? They're like, for criminal fads, it's like fashion. They're like, let's just rob a bunch of art houses now. Let's do a bunch of museums.
It doesn't even make any sense. So the museum actually closed for renovations in 2013 and reopened in 2018. So it was a $132 million overhaul.
Damn.
Of this building. And it sought to put more of the museum's collection on display and to match security, accessibility, fire safety, and climate controlling of any modern institution.
Look at them.
So they actually allowed to do those things.
They modernized it the right way.
Imagine. Well, it didn't fucking help. So what difference does it make?
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. Okay. So here we go. Get my hair out of my face. My stupid ears don't fit in these headphones today. I don't know what my problem is. Is it back? Left? Nope, that's my left side. Okay. Fast forward to December 22nd in the year 2000. It is 4:55 p.m., 5 minutes before the National Museum's closing time. A man enters the museum through the lobby, armed with a submachine gun.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Do you know what a submachine gun is? Because I thought I did, and I didn't. I had to look it up.
There's different models. I mean, I only know what I see in Call of Duty or like Battlefield.
Fair enough. So for the rest of us that are not, gun experts, except I am now as I flip my hair, this is a small rifle type gun that's designed to shoot handgun cartridges.
Oh.
So I was like, what's a submachine? Like a Tommy gun? Sort of, but not really. So that man wasted no time in threatening a guard at gunpoint, demanding that he get down on the ground. Another 2 men who were reportedly already waiting inside, like some fucking demented flash mob,
oh, shit,
pulled handguns out on the 2 other guards, forcing them into the same position. So they were pretty prepared. Staring down respective barrels, the guards had little choice but to relinquish the 3 targeted paintings that the thieves requested, and who then made a hasty retreat. This entire heist only took minutes to execute.
Damn.
So what works for stolen? The reason I asked you before if it was Rembrandt's self-portrait is because that exact painting was stolen in this fucking heist.
Really? Oh. Wow.
So, among the paintings stolen was 2 of Renoir's paintings, The Young Parisian and Conversation, 2 separate paintings, and Rembrandt's self-portrait. I actually had to you said that and I was like, wait, what did you say?
That's hysterical. What the fuck? How many of those did he make? You
think he made multiple self-portraits? Now I gotta go Google it. Hold on.
My thing is, I thought you couldn't remove anything from Gardner's museum. So that's why I'm like, can there be more than one?
Rembrandt self-portrait. Oh, yeah, there are more than one. There's multiple.
Okay. Still worth
there's
a
a
lot.
lot of them. That's just such a trip, dude. But you said that and I was like, what?
Because I'm over here like, what? I'm like, I know they didn't remove him from her museum.
Yeah, there's a bunch. So if I just Googled that and he's got himself in all sorts of, he liked to paint himself apparently.
That's hysterical.
Wonderful.
The selfie king before it was a selfie king. So they took that. Wow.
They did. And that haul estimated to be worth around $55 million. So nothing what your people pulled off.
Well, your people only took 3 paintings though, right? So damn.
And they were only in there for like 10 minutes.
That's insane.
So what seemed like a relatively simple operation was in fact extremely sophisticated and executed flawlessly, which is not what you usually hear about in these kinds of stories. Mm-hmm. You hear much like those bros that we covered a few episodes ago who stole the expensive books where they're just like a bunch of fucking idiots. These guys were much more Ocean's 11 money heists. You know, they had it real fucking planned out. They were no joke. So only moments before the heist, 2 car bombs in a nearby hotel parking lot exploded.
Oh, damn.
Leaving the vehicles just up in flames.
Was that their distraction?
This was created as a diversion.
Oh, boy.
And to weaken the police's manpower and to create an overall sense of chaos for the Stockholm authorities. And see, this is the shit that they taught me in TSA, and I'm sure that they teach you working as an airline employee post 9/11, that anything that is weird that is happening over here, look over here, because 100%. It's probably a distraction for that.
Yeah.
I actually have a story that tripped me the fuck out. I was working in the JetBlue terminal and some guy came in and he had a Gatorade bottle, like the big, the big 24 ounce ones, full of fucking coins, like money.
What the fuck?
Which is random and weird, right?
Yeah.
And it's impossible to really screen that. Like you can't see through it. You can't rub it with anything. It's not a liquid. Like what do you do with it? And my job, I did like analytics, and I was in a different place, and where I actually sat was like off to the side. I could see the entire checkpoint in front of me, and I was elevated up on this, like they called it the DJ booth, and it looks like a DJ booth. And I remember thinking, like they called the supervisor over, and then another supervisor came over, and I remember thinking like, I better fucking open my eyes and look around because that is really strange. Like I worked for TSA for many years and never saw anything like that.
Right.
So what is this diverting our attention from? Somebody's bringing drugs in, 10 lanes that way, who knows, or bombs or whatever. It was just something really weird. And I was all my spidey senses were tingling. So in addition to the car bombs, this trio had also thrown nails onto the road outside of the museum to burst the tires of the pursuers that would actually make it that far.
Wow. They were not fucking around. We got diversions. And what country was this again?
They're in Stockholm, Sweden.
Still, it gives me Die Hard vibes, even though, again, he was German. But this shit right here, they don't fuck around.
When the alarm was sounded, responders found all their tires had been slashed by these fucking nails. And they then, no shit, escaped by a fucking speedboat, 007 style, that was moored in a nearby waterway, which was certainly a creative and mostly unexpected getaway method, despite the fact that the museum was bordered on 2 sides by water. So this boat was abandoned eventually and recovered by police a short time after the heist. And that was it. They got away. End of story. Bye-bye. Just kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that all of this is crazy. I need a movie on this because in my head, I'm just envisioning like
seriously
these very tall, like beautiful
in suits with
Dutch
like rabbit
men.
Head masks on, and I just picture them like in like skinny European suits with like rabbit masks on, like robbing.
I'm hearing like some 80s or 90s synth or whatever. It's like do not make a sound or we will shoot you.
They're the ones who go, gentlemen, you're being robbed.
That's exactly
right?
Yeah, they definitely do that. And just them on the speedboat, I picture like the wind blowing their blonde hair, and it's like, yeah, it's just absurd. It's really absurd.
Oh my God.
I need to see a movie or a show made of it.
Well, how is this not a movie? I don't understand. This is thrilling. So After their stunning getaway, the thieves went quiet for weeks, and police feared they would never recover any of the missing paintings, much like the Gardner Museum.
You see.
So who were these thieves? Were they George Clooney and Brad Pitt of Ocean's 11?
They were on some Point Break shit. That's what that sounds like.
Truth be told, their names were Alexander Petrov and Stefan Nordstrom. They were the masterminds behind this movie-style heist. They directed a lawyer to deliver a ransom note to the authorities in Stockholm. And the lawyer delivered the note in January 2001. And this note included the group's demands for several $1 million in exchange for the safe return of the paintings. And the ransom note is where they went wrong. I don't understand why they would steal these 3 paintings.
Right.
And not have somewhere to sell them for money that you're going to go back and be like, hey, I'll give these back to you if you give me money.
That's what I'm just baffled about. Like, you set this whole heist up so elaborately.
Did you not have buyers?
And you executed it with confidence and you didn't have buyers. So what was that, just arrogance right there? Or were we just like, we know we're good at our job, we can worry about selling it later? Or were you just stealing it to steal it? I don't understand.
Unless something went wrong and somebody backed out of something somewhere and they were like, fuck, this is too hot. What do we do now?
Yeah, that too. So
the ransom note actually gave the police enough information to restart the criminal investigation. Obviously, that demand for ransom was rejected, and that same month, they were caught and arrested. Petrov and Nordstrom, along with their crooked lawyer, and 3 other accomplices were taken in.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the swift arrest, law enforcement came up empty-handed when it came to actually retrieving the stolen paintings.
Damn, okay.
2 months later, in a completely unrelated raid, Renoir's conversation came to light. The 1879 painting being found stashed away inside of a bag. Even though stolen artworks are often used as collateral in a variety of different illegal transactions, it was an utterly unexpected discovery, but a welcome one. After that, it would be another 4 years until another break in the case came. So, fast forward to the fall of 2005. You and I are just meeting for the first time in our college courtyard. Introduced by Adrian, if anyone listened to our bonus episode. 5,500 miles away in sunny Los Angeles, the FBI are investigating a Bulgarian crime syndicate for drug trafficking when they caught wind of a talk of a second stolen Renoir, the young Parisian. That September, the Bureau took in a man named Boris Kostov. I mean, that is like a fucking name out of a movie. He's one of the syndicate bosses, and they interrogated him. And according to the FBI, the Renoir had arrived in the U.S. 2 years prior and was expertly smuggled through LAX, which I'm dying to fucking know how they did that.
Hysterical. Yeah. And this is in the this is post 9/11, mind you, or
post 9/11. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That's
like
wild.
not even that far post 9/11, so everything was still real fresh.
Okay,
and hot,
maybe
you know?
maybe that's how they got away with it then, because it's it's like,
why? What do you think? I don't know.
I'm just
why
saying the birth of TSA started like right after 9/11,
they still had
but
customs though. They had to get it from fucking Sweden to the United States.
I mean, it was still laxed, I feel.
I guess. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was working for TSA, it was like, almost 15, 20 years post 9/11. Everyone was like, we don't need you anymore. Why are you here? But I feel like in 2005, it's only 4 years.
True. Everybody was probably like, we need the security.
You didn't forget yet. Yeah.
I wonder if they knew people on the inside. There has to be something there. Yeah.
So the cross-examination proved to be extremely fruitful, for it led to the painting being returned with only one minor scratch on the varnish, as well as to valuable information on the whereabouts of the only other painting from the 2000 heist that was left uncovered, which was Rembrandt's 1630 self-portrait. So, according to Kostov, the Rembrandt was in Denmark. So later that September, the FBI set up a sting operation in conjunction with Danish authorities in the nation's capital of Copenhagen. Have you been to Copenhagen, Justin?
I have not. I would love to go, though. It's a beautiful place.
I know, me too. I've never been anywhere. So, similar to Scotland Yard's Vulpine tactic when retrieving Munch's Scream painting, the FBI agent and the founder of the Bureau's art crime team, his name is Robert K. Whitman, posed as a black market art dealer and potential buyer.
Mm-hmm.
So the sellers were in a pinch, obviously, and they were unable to secure a sale in the 5 years since the heist. I'm so curious as to the backstory and what went wrong.
I need to, because I'm sitting here like I need to know.
Well, they were offering this painting to the sting operation for $100,000. That was it. I mean, it was worth like $42 million
by itself, and they're like, "Here's $100,000,"
and they were willing to just offload it for $100,000.
They're not even
asking,
asking.
like, get it the fuck out of here.
They're not even asking for protection or anything or clemency. Like, they're not asking for anything. They're just like, "Here's $100,000."
They're not. They don't know that they're in a sting operation.
Right. Oh, true. You know, yeah. It's undercover.
But it's not like they're asking for $1 million if it's worth $42 million. They're just like, hot potato. I'll take anything for this. Please get it away from me.
It's so weird. Do you think they knew it was a setup? Do you think they were testing them? That's crazy.
Nope. I think that they were just desperate. Like, something happened. They were trying to offload all this shit, and they were still stuck with one of the bazillion self-portraits of Rembrandt's, apparently, and didn't know what to do with it.
Damn.
So, weeks after tense negotiations, Whitman finally secured a time and a place for the exchange. And the deal was to take place in a Copenhagen hotel room. So, unbeknownst to the three thieves who arrived at the setup, their every move was actually being monitored and recorded via video surveillance, and a Danish SWAT team was occupying the neighboring hotel room, waiting for a signal from Whitman to burst in and make arrests. How is this not a fucking movie? It's already written.
I'm going to have to look it up. Or that's the thing. I feel like there's a lot of movies that had instances of this before the crime existed. Did these criminals, were they inspired by these other movies? Like,
it's a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
So, hold on, let me drink my coffee. So Whitman played it cool, worked on convincing the thieves that the very real cash offered up was not counterfeit. Apparently that was what their concern was. They must have been burned by somebody.
Clearly, yeah.
Who tried to buy something with fake money. So once he had successfully appeased the criminals' concerns, they were then joined by a fourth accomplice. And that final thief was carrying the Rembrandt. So ironically, they were holding back to ensure that everything was as it should be. A little known to them, the fucking cops were waiting on the other side of the door. So Whitman gave the signal, and that SWAT team swooped in. The operation was obviously successful, and the final painting was safely recovered. So unlike your story, all three stolen, all three returned.
These guys weren't as organized.
Well, like, what happened? Where did this all fucking fall apart?
This is so weird. Yeah, they started off so strong and so calculated, and now we're just like, oh.
They just shit the bed. Well, so yeah, what did somebody die or disappear, like the brain of this whole operation? Because these four are a bunch of idiots. So the four men were arrested in the throes of that faux sale, and they were extradited to Sweden. So the 2000 heist was the first and only robbery that has ever befallen the National Museum. And it was unprecedented for Sweden due to its use of firearms, because apparently that's just not, it's not America. But keep in mind, not one of them was fired. There was no firing. Could you imagine?
This whole thing is just so crazy to me. It's like a upside down verse or some shit.
Yeah. Well, and just like American culture, it's like every time I literally was outside yesterday morning going to bring my son to look at a daycare, and I'm hearing gunshots. Like, that's just, it's just normal, you know? Not that I live in a scary place. I live in the middle of rural America, but the guns are just everyday commonplace, especially here in Tennessee. Okay, so I lost my place and I'm back. It is strange that the thieves went to such elaborate ends to secure their paintings without having black market buyers lined up beforehand. The museum certainly was never prepared to fork over any amount of cash in return for the paintings. And at the time of the robbery, the acting museum director Forgive me. His name is Torsten Gunnarsson. He stated that the thieves would probably blackmail us, but we won't pay any money because we don't have any money.
Oh, damn. He kept it real. He was like, we don't have any money, so don't even ask me.
Right. Yep. So what happened to our merry band of thieves? 10 men in total have been charged over the theft of the 3 paintings from Stockholm's National Museum. They went to trial, and it began May 2001.
Okay.
But only one of the suspects would actually be accused of direct involvement in the daring robbery, which makes no sense to me. Out of 10, you had at least 3 inside the building. Right? You had the 2 waiting and the one that walked in. Then you had 4 in the hotel room, but somehow only one of them is fucking responsible. It's crazy.
That's weird.
So keep in mind, at the time of their trial in 2001, only 1 painting had been recovered. So the other 2 had not been found yet, which was leaving much of this mystery unsolved when they went on trial. So the district court found that 2 of the men, 42-year-old Alexander Petrov, which is like the name of a Swedish mobster, and 31-year-old Stefan Nordstrom had been directly involved and sentenced them to 6.5 years and 6 years, respectively, for aggravated robbery.
Damn.
I feel like that's not a very long time.
Not at all. And I like how it's labeled aggravated robbery. I feel like it should definitely be a higher charge to that.
It must be something to do with I mean, I don't know what the laws are there, but
yeah,
they never shot any guns. They never.
Oh, that's true, actually. Yeah.
Just because the guns were there makes it aggravated. Maybe. I don't know. 3 others, including a Moroccan man, faced between 2 and 4 years in prison for complicity in the theft. I thought it was really weird that they chose to identify one of the 3 men as a Moroccan man. I don't know why they did that in the article, but I felt like maybe it was important.
That was definitely a little weird.
Yeah. I was like, maybe this is important or maybe this is racist. I'm not totally sure.
I'm not sure either. First, I was like, as I was reeling in my brain, I'm like,
the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Specific. Are they trying to say maybe he wasn't from Denmark? Did they get this guy from Morocco solely to do this, or are we just being racist? Yeah, I don't know.
So the 5 also were ordered to pay the museum 320 million kroner, which is $30 million in damages.
Okay.
And that was the estimated value for the 2 paintings that still remained missing at the time.
Ah, okay.
So I wonder if they got that knocked down after they found the paintings, but probably not, because that's not how the world works. So yeah, they were still like, oh, well, you found them. Can you just like leave us the fuck alone and give us our 6 years? So 3 other men were also sentenced to up to 4 years in prison for handling stolen goods, while 5 other suspects were acquitted of charges, including theft and extortion.
How did they get acquitted? They must have snitched on others.
Yep, I'm sure that they did. So all 3 suspects had actually pled not guilty to all of these charges. So that is the story of a Swedish robbery. How this is not a movie, I don't know. I'm
going to need it to be a movie or a mini-series soon because,
let me ask you this question. Who would you cast in this movie? And you're not allowed to say Mark Wahlberg.
No, definitely not. But Alexander Skarsgård would be...
Yes. Can we have both the Skarsgårds?
I only want one of them, and then I want Anthony Ludwig from Vikings, but you may know him from... I'm trying to think what you know him from. You haven't started watching Heels yet, right? No. I told you watch Heels, the wrestling. Start watching that, but look up Alexander Ludwig. He's very tall, very muscular.
No.
No. Hold on.
Alexander Ludwig. Sometimes he was the son in Vikings, right?
Yes. And sometimes he rocks long hair, sometimes short hair, but no, just the depiction you gave me in my brain. It's him and Alexander Skarsgård. And for like the third person, I don't know off the top of my head, but this would be quite the heist film.
Oh, isn't that a Skarsgård too? I think that is. The guy who plays Loki is a Skarsgård.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he's a Skarsgård. That's their dad, right?
No, it's one of the brothers. The one that
plays Loki, or the
that's one of the Gustav. Skarsgård.
Gustav. Oh yes, Gustav. Yeah.
Walter Bill.
Because there's like
Alexander.
5 of them. There's 5 of them.
Yeah, I mean, but his name is Walter with a V. Walter Skarsgård.
Yeah,
very
Walter
funny.
Skarsgård.
That's a great casting. I appreciate that one. Yeah, oh my God, Alexander Skarsgård. I'll watch him do anything.
I know you would. We've spent
many years, many years of True Blood,
going over everybody each house. Watch True Blood.
Yes. So that's so funny that we both chose to do Art Heist this week. Good thing mine was on the shorter side, because yours was on the longer side. There's a lot of detail in yours. I like that.
We swapped, yeah.
Usually I write the ones that are a little too long and make us go over, but that was Justin's fault this week, so blame him.
Yeah, this time it's my fault. And you know what's crazy? I hope people watch that documentary. I hope people look this up, because there were so many more things I could have added. And I was like, I'm trimming it out. Some people didn't make the cut from my suspects, because literally they just were suspects for like a day. I'm like, I'm not getting into this right now. But yeah.
But that was awesome. How funny is that?
When you look back at the history of the creative arts, it takes a lot of darkness to create the light the arts bring to the world.
Thanks for joining us this week. And if you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and go over to Apple Podcasts to rate and review.
Please check out our sources listed in the episode notes. They're amazing.
And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and all of the social platforms at Crime of the Arts Podcast.
We're looking forward to having you back next week. Until next time, peace out, everybody.
Peace out, everybody.